Good afternoon, everyone. Here I am. I'm back down here at Hamilton South, where we did our holiday program.
Engaging, having a good time.
What I want to talk about is a little bit more about communication. So all those communication skills that we've been
looking at and talking about and practicing in class.
They're not just the skills that you can use when you're communicating one-on-one in a more formal sense. That's why I came back to Hamilton South, because working with those young people and those families and everyone that was in attending, we use all those communication skills.
Listening, reflecting back feelings. It's like, hey man, you seem a bit angry about that, or I'm getting a bit frustrated when you're shooting me in the head with those Nerf guns. I'd really love it if you just shoot the target.
So communication skills are important in all sorts of context. We take them all over the place. We take them into our own relationships, try them out at home.
So Mum, you're saying you're really flat out with all the shopping and
paying all the bills and groceries and cooking and stuff. You're feeling a bit overwhelmed. See how that goes. Feeling a bit overwhelmed, Mum. Shows that you're listening.
Maybe it's a good thing. Try it with a partner, perhaps.
Communication, we've been talking about, well, we introduced the idea of starting the more formal interview last session, and we spoke about the idea of giving a little bit of rapport building. How you going today? How'd you get here? It wet outside? Want a cup of tea? Cool drink?
Bit of rapport, chit-chat.
Fairly early, and we've got to talk about confidentiality, because we've got to introduce that before people start telling us their story. I'm not going to tell anyone else whatever you say, except there are three things where I would have to go and tell someone else according to the law. First thing is, if you say, if you're at risk to yourself, or you know of someone else that could be at risk of serious harm. Can't keep that to myself, got to go and tell someone so you can get the support that you need. Other thing was, if you tell me about a serious crime, like a serious crime is something that someone would go to jail for a couple of years.
Again, I'm a mandatory reporter, I have to tell the police or someone else to get support on that.
The other thing, the courts, if they're investigating a matter and they think my case notes about our conversations are relevant, it could be about sending someone to jail, for example. They could be, they call for those notes, it's called subpoenaed, and I can't say no.
Sometimes if I'm a bit stuck or need suggestions, I may need to talk to my supervisor here at work just to get some advice.
If you're okay with those things, we keep going. If you're not okay, you've got any questions, let's talk about it now. Janine came and spoke to us, and I guess I got Janine because some of you in the class had said they'd had a little bit of maybe a not so great experience with some counsellors.
Around confidentiality in particular. I just want to get Janine in to show, look, there are people that are really good, and not just Janine, but I know Janine's good, and she was here, and I think she clarified a few things for people. And certainly around confidentiality, there's a little difference between reporting for someone who's 15 years or 16 and above.
When you're 16 and up, you're considered a young person under the law in New South Wales, and there's a little bit more discretion. The other thing that came up in the interviews, and we can have a look at that interview that we explored in our class, here it is. Something that people questioned about was, do we give advice? And I sort of said, yeah, certainly not in the rapport building stage. We sort of do a lot of exploring and listening and really seeking to understand a person's story and what's going on before launching into advice. And my feeling on that is that it helps build that rapport and trust and confidence.
So, and I guess what I would say, well, how does it feel when people start telling you you should do this and you should do that? They don't, before they've heard the full story and they really perhaps understand, does that make you feel like you want to shut down, or they're not listening? You should just go and suck it in and toughen up or whatever. You should do this, you should do that. That's kind of the advice or lecturing kind of approach.
Janine spoke about that. She will give advice and she'll be blunt. That's her style. That works for her. Everyone will find their own style. But she also made it clear that she would have a good rapport with someone before being particularly blunt, I suppose. And if you looked at that video, the first session, there was a sort of subtle advice, and it was more phrased in questions. So the counsellor said, or is your marriage strong enough to survive? Do you think it can survive this issue with the right support? And the answer was yeah. So that was kind of not like saying you should chuck this marriage in or you should try and work on it. It was sort of checking out where that person was at.
What do you think about the situation?
You know, do you feel that there's hope if you get the right support? And the lady was pretty forthcoming. Yeah, I think there's hope if we get the right support, basically was her answer. And the other thing where she tested out was, do you think your husband would be willing to get support for his drinking or help in this marriage? Do you think so the question being asked, do you think your husband? So checking it out again, not saying
your husband should get support or you should make your husband get support. So not that real directive, forceful approach, which again could get someone's back up.
Good questioning can get people to make their own decisions, and really that's what you want. If people are being told to do something, they're less likely to do it. If they feel it's that they own that decision, they've made that decision themselves, even though you've sort of guided them with good questioning. But
if they feel they've owned that decision, made that decision off their own back, then they're more likely to follow through.
You think he'd go for that? And the answer was something like, yeah, given the right moment, he would. So I guess there were some jobs for that lady to go away with, which was to have that conversation with her husband about, been seeing someone to get some support, and they think it'd be good if we both went and spoke about the options. Would you be willing to do that? something like that. And maybe the job of the counsellor is to help that lady practice how she'd broach that subject with the husband, what sort of language she would use. So that's a skill of the counsellor as well, or a job of the counsellor, to help people practice what they can say in tricky situations.
And I guess the other thing I take from that interview, session 1,
was there may be some extra referrals need to be made. So maybe there's a specialist
worker, counsellor or service that works with the alcohol and other drug alcohol and other drug issues, so that'd be more appropriate perhaps for the husband.
So your job in that initial intake might be to work out the appropriate referral.
I hope we're starting to get there, getting a bit clearer, but to me those skills of listening and question asking, getting people to tell their story, feel comfortable, feel they're being listened to, that is the skill. Bye for now.